Alright guys, so I always love it when Chinese brands listen to the customers and us reviewers when it comes to tweaking their watches and updating them, and this is one of those watches. So I never checked out the version 1 of this, but with this new version 2, they've changed a few things which I think are for the better. But the question is, are you going to agree with me or not? So this is the review of the Militado ML14 version 2. So this actually comes in a different packaging to a lot of the Militado watches I've checked out before. So it comes with this metal tin with the Militado brand in them, distressed look, suiting the watch. And then here is the watch itself. So there's actually a few different variations with this one. So I've got the all white one, but you can also get like a faux tina. They also do it with different crystals, and also slightly different movements if you want to get like a date version, and also different lume colours too. So if you want to see all the different ones, check out the links in the description. They are affiliate links, so I get a small commission, but you don't pay any extra. And then that allows me to be able to use it to get more watches in future. So you probably want to know now, how much is this going to cost you? So I'll tell you the price based on the specs of this one I have. It's coming in at $72, which is about £53 and about €61. And believe it or not, this is actually the more expensive version. So as I say, depending on what specs you go for, you might even pay less than that. So as I said in the intro, I didn't check out the version 1 of this, but I am going to talk about the 3 main differences with this one compared to the version 1. Some of them are quite subtle, others more obvious. But before we get down into all that, first of all let's go over the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 36mm, thickness of 9.6, lug width of 20, and then the all important lug to lug is coming in at 44.8. So some really nice compact dimensions there. When it comes to the weight on this supplied NATO strap, that's coming in at 50 grams. So we'll take a quick look at that now, starting with the hardware. So we're just going to zoom in so you can see a bit better. So you can see we've got an unbranded buckle there, fully brushed hardware. Stitching's nicely done on the strap itself, nothing too special though. And then if I just move this out of the way so you can see the case back, you can see we have actually got the Militado branding on there, and then we've got 100 meter water resistance. So now let's move on to the head of the watch, starting with the side profile. So we've got an unsigned crown, but we've got a really nice slim case there, which is fully brushed. And this is where one of the first changes comes in with this version 2. So the case is actually slimmer, but the crystal is actually taller. But the overall dimension of the two is the same as the version 1. So I personally really like this change because I do like a nice domed crystal, as you guys know. But what do you guys think? And you can also see we've got drilled lugs, so if you do want to swap out the strap you can do quickly and easily. So now let's move on to the dial, as this is where the other 2 changes come in. So we've got a fully printed dial, nothing applied. Then we've got the branding at the top, Militado Watch Co. Normally it's just the Militado. Not too sure how I feel about that, to be honest. For me, the less text on the dial the better. So that used to be where the arrow was, that's now above the 6. And then the other change on here is when it comes to the hands. We now have a white hand instead of a yellow one, which was on the previous version apparently. And with this all white version at least, not having any faux tina, that definitely works better in my opinion. But again, that can vary depending on which style you go for. Some of them do still have the yellow second hand. So now it's time to see what kind of crystal we've got on this. Is it K1 or is it sapphire? Using the trusty diamond selector tool. And yep, this one is actually sapphire. So as I said, this is why this one is slightly more expensive. So now it's time to get onto the movement and talk about that, because again, this can vary depending on which version you go for. So it doesn't specify exactly which one you get if you go for the version I have. It's either a VH31 or a VH65. And if you go for the date version, you'll get the Ronda 515. So I'll quickly show you this in action now. So screw down crown, nice and grippy. And then if we just pop it out, we've only got the one position, no ghost date or anything, so that's good. Obviously second hand stops, so you got hacking, and then we can just change the time. And then pop it back in, second hand will re-engage. All works well. I do like these movements. And then nice and easy to screw that crown back down again. And then because we've got that VH movement, we've got that sweeping quartz, so you kind of get the best of both. It kind of mimics an automatic, but you've also got that grab and go ability of a quartz. So now it's time to check out the lume and see what lume we're dealing with and if it's any good. So you can see with this one we've got the nice ice blue colour of BGW9, but as I say, depending on which dial you go for, you might get C3. So despite being a fully printed dial, initially it's looking pretty good, consistent across the hands and the indices. Would have been nice if they put some lume on that second hand maybe a fully lumed one with it being white. We've also got no patchiness, but the question as always is, what is the longevity like? So let's speed this up now and find out. So are those numbers going to fade before the hands, because obviously it's just printed and not applied. And the further we go, you will notice they do start to fade quicker. However, the markers at the 12, 3, 6 and 9 are staying pretty consistent with the hands. Although that minute hand is beginning to fade a bit more than the hour one, so that's not ideal. I'd like to see them add a few more layers maybe, and just try and sort out the consistency between all the different elements. But otherwise, it's pretty good loom, just not great. So all that's left to do now is show you what it's like on wrist, go over the pros and cons, and then you can decide whether you want to pick one of these up or not. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So I think it looks pretty good, and as you guys know, I always tend to wear NATO straps with the bulk on the bottom. It's also good to see we've got the matching hardware to match the finish of the case. It's all fully brushed. And now that it's on wrist, you can see what I mean about that extra height on the crystal. Just adds a little bit more distortion, which is something I really like. I know it's not for everyone. And with that nice compact look to lug, a nice bit of curvature to the lugs, conforms to wrist well. And because they're drilled as well, if you do want to swap out the strap, you can do quickly and easily. And you can see just how slim that case is. Quite a lot of that thickness is that crystal now, with those dimensions being changed slightly from the version 1, while still keeping the same overall dimension. If you're into your dome crystals, you'll appreciate that change just as I do. As for the other two changes on the dial, I definitely prefer having that arrow down at the 6 where it should be, although I still think the branding at the top is a bit too much. I'd rather just the Militado. It just looks a little bit too cluttered for my liking. I'd normally say I prefer a logo, but having that arrow above the 6, I think having that and also a logo just below the 12 might look a little bit odd. But let me know, do you agree? And when it comes to the third change, that second hand, I definitely appreciate that. With this all white version, having a yellow second hand would have been a bit odd, so it's definitely better that it's white. But again, you have options. If you're not keen on the white one and you do prefer a yellow second hand, they do still have a version that has that as well. So there's quite a lot of variations. You should be able to find something you do like if you like this style of watch. Overall, the finishing's nicely done. Simple, but it does the job. And having that VH movement with that sweeping quartz, it's a nice grab and go piece. The only other thing I'd really say needs working on slightly maybe is the loom. Just add a few more layers or just try and get the consistency between the different elements a bit better. But that's a fairly minor one, it's not a deal breaker by any means. So overall, I definitely recommend this watch, and I do think it is an improvement over the version 1. But as I said at the start of the video, the question is, do you guys agree with me or not? If you do, and you want to pick one up, don't forget to use the link down in the description. And if you want to see some more watches from Militado, check out the links at the end of the video. But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.